My name is Cami with the Living Well program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3, as well as find us on Palmer. But you can also log in online and listen live online at katb.org. We're also doing this interview by way of video, so you can always look us up on our Facebook page at Living Well Radio to take part and just watch the video interview. There'll be some bonuses at the end, and you get some behind the scenes access, right, Betty?
Right. We hope. That's the plan anyway.
That's the plan. But we're super excited to be talking with Jennifer Waller today. It's been quite a while, but we have had her in the studio before. She's got an amazing testimony. We would encourage you to go look up that interview. Maybe we'll repost that just to give you easy access to it. But she's joining us live from, where are you calling in from today, Jennifer?
From Soldotna. We're just down south of you guys.
Yes. So all the way from Soldotna, she's going to tell us about some new and exciting things that she's a part of and heading up down there. So thank you so much for taking time to join us here on Living Well.
Absolutely. I'm excited to share what God has been doing down here.
So go ahead and tell us just a little. Go ahead, Betty. Sorry.
First, I want us to just think for a minute about how good God is and that we have this technology. None of us had to leave our homes. And, you know, we can still sit in our comfortable homes and look at each other and laugh and giggle and do the show. To me, that's incredible that we can do such a thing.
So tell us a little bit about what you've got going on, Jennifer. We're so excited to hear about it.
Yes, so I'm just going to, in a nutshell, just share a quick testimony of where God had brought me from to start the ministry here in Soldotna that he started through me. So after graduating high school, I had made some bad choices and really quickly got involved in drugs and alcohol and the wrong crowds, the wrong people, and my life took a turn from, you know, a 4.0 student, loving life, varsity cheerleader. I just loved life, to being completely addicted to drugs and alcohol within a year, dropping out of college, losing my jobs, overdosing, landing in the hospital. This addiction lasted for 10 years. And in that 10 years, I had 5 overdoses to the hospital. I'd been to 3 inpatient rehabs. I had tried everything the world had to offer to fill the void that was inside of me, and nothing filled it. No pill, no psychiatrist, no doctor. I was still empty every time I would seek help. And it wasn't until June 26, 2009, when I had taken a handful of pills, chased by Crown Royal whiskey because I didn't want to live anymore. I had decided this life was too hard. It was not for me, and wanted to take my own life. And my husband at the time dropped me off at a rehab that morning. He didn't know that I had consumed all of that, and dropped me off. And for 3 days, I was in a blackout. But God had a different plan for me, and he woke me up on June 28, 2009, in this worldly rehab. It's not a Christian rehab at all, but I'm so glad we serve a God that's not consumed by walls and churches, that he came to me in my darkest moment. And that morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got out of my rehab bed and rolled onto my knees and raised my arms and surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. And so that was over 8.5 years ago, where not a drop of alcohol or drugs or cigarettes has touched my lips or mouth in any way, because Jesus Christ set me free. So that's my backstory. So I instantly knew that we live in a dark world, that this community I grew up in, I graduated from, it's a small town, and all my friends were, you know, falling. And so I got involved in prison ministry pretty quickly, and rehab ministry and village ministry. I've traveled the state to a lot of our prisons and just to villages that are dark, that are off the road system, to share the gospel and to evangelize our state. God has placed us here. If you're living in Alaska, it is not by coincidence. God has placed you here in your community, in your neighborhood, for such a time as this. And I knew that in my heart, that the hopelessness that was surrounding me, that I had to get out there and share with the world the hope. So 7 years into prison ministry, I became the female chaplain down here at Kenai Wildwood Prison. They didn't have a woman chaplain to go into the dorms. And so I became that for 2 years. And it was just day after day to see these women come in and out with nowhere to go. I literally had a lady ask me, Jen, I'm getting out tomorrow. My two options are the streets. And this was in February and it was 20 below zero. She said, I'm homeless, so I can either get out and walk the streets, or I can go to my dope dealer's house because he'll let me sleep on the couch. But I know if I go back there, I'm going to relapse. I'm going to use again. And I don't want that lifestyle. And she's asking me with the look, I'll never forget this lady's face. And I had to tell her, no, there's nowhere for you to go when you get out. I'm sorry. We don't have the resources to help these women that are ready to make choices for life. And so that was when I went home, and I was just up in my prayer room in my bedroom talking to God, saying, Lord, you know, basically pleading on their behalf. What can we do? Where can they go? And it was February 1st in that prayer room when God spoke to me and said, Jen, I want you to open a women's home. And I journaled it because it was very clear to my spirit what he was saying, but I was like, I don't know about this. So for 2 months, I didn't tell anybody. I just prayed about it. I thought about it. 2 months later, I said, Lord, was that you? And it was like, as soon as I said that, it was like 100% like, yeah, it was me. 2 months went by, you know, like, come on, get on with it. So I started talking to pastors in the area, 5 of them actually. I called 5 of my pastors that have poured into my life, scheduled meetings, went into their offices, sat down, told them my vision, told them my calling, hoping that they would talk me out of it, really, because I was scared. I didn't have what it took. All I had was a calling of Jesus Christ. And as you're going to see at the end of this, that's all you need. He does the rest. And so each 5 pastors not only said, yes, do it, but we're going to be 100% behind you. You got it. You're the one for the job. And so with their support, I got online, figured out how to form a board, become a nonprofit, fill out, you know, a huge stack of paperwork with the IRS and get our official stamp. And so then I started going around Soldotna looking for a home, because I knew the majority of the women we would be helping aren't going to have vehicles and they're not going to have driver's license. And so I knew it had to be centrally located in the heart of town so that these women can walk or ride bikes in the summer to counseling or doctor's appointments or jobs or whatever it is. And so this building that we're in right now was perfect location. But when I met the city inspector over here, he had scheduled about an hour appointment to walk through the building to see where it was sitting city code wise. And 4.5 hours later, he handed me a stack of paperwork, you know, about as thick as my Bible was. He handed it to me, and his words were, Jen, what you're trying to do here is impossible. We got a quote on to bring this building that we're sitting in up to city code was $459,000 to bring it up to code. The building itself was $245,000. So it was about a $705,000 building and job. And I pulled up my little phone app and I looked at our Freedom House bank account, and we had $800 in it. And I still remember to this day God saying, this isn't your house, Jen, this is my house. And I'm gonna make this home for my princesses. And so with that $800 and not sleeping for 3 days or eating, you know, I'm still human and I was scared to death. But I knew that I needed to take a leap of faith for these mamas that are dying on our streets. And signed the paperwork that day. And a week later, so we signed the paperwork December of last year. So it's been just a little over a year when I signed on to this home, knowing it needed $500,000 in renovations. The city inspector put a time limit that it would take 3 to 4 years to complete the job if we got the money. He couldn't comprehend how we were going to do this. He even told us, Jen, I don't believe in the same God that you do, but what you're trying to do here is impossible. And so I took that stack of paperwork up to my prayer room that night, and I just prayed over it and said, God, your will be done. This is not my will, Lord, but that we would be your hands and feet. Our very first work day. So I started going around to churches, casting my vision. Pastors in the area were so welcoming. They'd give me Sunday morning spots, and I would just say, hey, we're having work days. We need volunteers. Over 500 volunteers over a 4.5-month period donated over 3,500 hours of hands-on labor. over $100,000 in greenbacks was raised. And 4.5 months from the time he handed me that stack of paperwork saying this is impossible, that same inspector was standing in the kitchen handing us our permit of occupancy so that we could open Freedom House here in Soldotna. And he said with tears in his eyes, he says, I can't believe what I just witnessed. Because he had to come every 2 weeks and sign off on electrician and the electrical and the plumbing and all of that. And he would never say anything. He'd just walk through. And so like 5 months later, I'm thinking, are we going to make it? You know, is he going to sign us off? And he hugged me and my sister and said, I cannot believe what I just witnessed. And I got to tell him that it wasn't us, that God is on the move, and he just got to watch him move this home. So as of when we opened, we completed, the church, the body of Christ, completed $400,000 paid for out the door in renovations in 4.5 months. I mean, come on. That is nothing short of a miracle.
Wow. Oh my goodness, I'm speechless. I just don't even know what to say to follow that up. That is incredible.
So we opened May 1st of this last year. We've already been open 9 months. And like you were asking earlier this morning, you know, does it seem, oh, do you seem overwhelmed by how quick? And it's almost like I wake up in the morning and have to pinch myself because it's a reality that we've been open 9 months. We've helped we've had 23 intakes so far in just 9 months. We have our first Freedom House baby. She was born 4 days ago, and mama and baby just came back home yesterday. And like her, the only way she was able to keep baby, this was in her court documents, is if she was living at Freedom House. Wow. We've had women court ordered here now by the state of Alaska. And I was getting a little bit of back there.
I can still hear you, but
it's good on my end.
Well. Okay, I'll just keep talking. So we have right now, we have 8 beds. We're full. We have a waiting list of 6 right now that we just, every week that we have our house meeting, the ladies living here and the staff, we just pray over those ladies that are trying to get into Freedom House, because we're a very strict program. I mean, this is not a flop house. We're not a rehab. We make that very clear. So they have to be clean and sober to move in. So the first thing I do is a drug and alcohol test. We do random testing. They have 30 days to get a job, you know, so we teach life skills. We help them build resumes. We sign them up. Each girl that moves in has what's called a freedom friend. And God had given me this idea because before I did this, I traveled the state. I went to Juneau, the Valley, and Anchorage, and I traveled to 5 different homes that were operating faith-based homes. And I took what was already working and just brought it down to Soldotna. You know, I wasn't trying to invent something new. I wanted to, we formed a few things, but this Freedom Friend thing is something new. None of the other homes have this, and I felt God gave it to me. And each girl that moves in is assigned a Freedom Friend, which is a spiritual mentor. She has been trained, oriented. She's got pastor background checks and reference checks. You know, I'm very careful about who we pair up one-on-one with our ladies because, you know, the majority of them come in just so broken and so lost. And so once a week, they're required to meet with their Freedom Friend. And so they'll meet here at the house and have coffee and just visit. And then what we're seeing is they're joining their Bible studies or they're doing Bible studies together. But it is such a powerful tool. Like we have 12 active Freedom Friends that can come into the house anytime. They're pretty much staff level. And so they come and go and just have seen miracles, guys. If we had time, I could just tell you, I'll just tell you one miracle. In our 20, you know, we've got so many, but one of our mamas came to us. She was 5 months pregnant, addicted to meth. She came to us, we got her in, she was living in her van. And so we got her in and got her to the doctor, and she came home from her doctor's appointment crying, saying that the baby that the doctors found in the ultrasound, water pockets on the baby's brain. And that if it were to survive birth, the water pockets could burst and it could be severe trauma during birth if it survived birth. And she was just a mess. And so we just prayed and prayed. And every time I seen her, I'd grab her belly and pray over baby. And she had asked me a few times, like, why do you touch, why do you touch people when you pray? Because she just, was curious. And so I was just telling her that Romans 8:11 tells us the same power that rose Jesus from the dead lives in us, lives in me. It's not my hands that are anything, I said, but Jesus's power is in me. And so I just touched baby and pray over him. And we did this. And 1 week later, she had a follow-up appointment for more testing and ultrasounds. And when she came home from that appointment, she came in the front doors, and I could hear her screaming. And I'm thinking, oh no, it's bad. And I go out of my office in the living room, and she's crying and says, Jesus healed my baby. And the ultrasound showed no water pockets. The doctor couldn't understand how they just disappeared. And she gave birth in September to a healthy 8-pound baby boy that is totally thriving. Mama's back at home with baby in Kenai in her own apartment, doing well. She just got her 9-month sobriety coin or whatever. And so we get to it's not even been a year, and I got miracles of God moving and restoring not only families, but marriages. I've seen marriages be restored, that husbands come to our Tuesday night chapels that we do every Tuesday night here at Freedom House in that big room I showed you. We bring in a worship, so we have live worship every Tuesday night, and then I bring in a speaker, which is testimonies. I just want everyone to share where God found them. And so in that Tuesday night chapel, we had a husband joining the wife, because they're allowed to invite. That one's open to the public. And long story short, like 3 weeks of chapels, the husband raised his hand during a prayer request time, and through sobbing and tears flowing down his face, he said, I didn't realize that I was an alcoholic and that I need a savior, and gave his life to Christ in our chapel. And that husband and wife are now together seeking marriage counseling, and their marriage is thriving. And so it's just amazing to be the hands and feet of God here in my local community, where the enemy tried to steal, kill, and destroy. Man, we get to plant life and plant seeds and water them of faith and hope.
Jennifer, this is an incredible story. I mean,
yes.
I am like Cammie. I'm just speechless. I have no words to add to anything to what you're saying. Without a doubt, you have to be overwhelmed at what God is doing. I've often said that when God's ready to move, he moves.
That's right.
And he makes everything perfect, just the way that he wants it.
Yes.
Jennifer, how long do the women typically stay in the Freedom House, or is there not a start and a completion?
Yes, so we have a 9-month max. So when they come in, we do a ton of paperwork, but that's one of the things they sign, knowing that, because we are not a shelter or rehab, we are a transitional home. We want to be that bridge to bridge them out. The majority of our women are coming from rehabs, a few from jails, but so bridge them onto getting on their own feet. But what we're seeing, in the 9 months we've been open, the average stay is about 50 to 60 days is what the majority of the women are staying. We do have 2 women here right now that have been here over 5 months. And then we have 2 women that have been here under a month. So it just ranges, each lady's needs is completely different. We have what we call the mercy bedroom, whereas a girl that needs a bed, for example, a girl was getting out of prison. She had a ticket to Fairbanks for a rehab, but she had nowhere to go for 9 days. So she was already clean. She just needed a bed for 9 days. I seen her ticket. So we were able to facilitate, the 9 days of safety, and then transporting her to the airport, getting her on the plane to get to her rehab. And so if we have a bed open, we'll do shorter stays if they have a plan, in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
How are the women finding you? How do they get in touch with you?
Mainly, word of mouth, but our website, we have applications online. Our website is freedomhouse907.com. I encourage you to check it out. Which is pretty amazing. God he pursues everywhere. We flew in a lady from Colorado that heard about us. Like,
wow.
just someone that had a family member here. So she was getting out of a rehab in Colorado, was going to be released to the streets, knew she would relapse. So she called me. She didn't have any money, no way to get here, but she said, I want to come to Freedom House. So I sent out an email to some of our volunteers and just said, hey, here's the deal. This mama of 3, she's been using heroin since she was 11 years old. She's 28. She wants help. Can anyone help out? And within an hour, we had her plane ticket bought, and she flew up, and she was here for over 3.5 months. She's still living here locally. She's transitioned into her own housing and has a full-time job and is doing amazing. She has all 3 of her kiddos back in her custody.
Oh my
I have
goodness.
seen you post many things on Facebook, and one of the things that I've really admired is how your community has just come out and supported this.
Huge, huge. The community. And the other cool thing that just melts my heart, I know God, just loves unity. And one of our work days, because I was speaking at churches, from Baptist to Assembly to the Catholic, I was at wherever they would let me in, I would go. And one of our work days, I was sitting in our break room. We had lunches every work day. And so I'm getting the lunch ready for the workers. And I look out into the living room, and hammers are going and dust is flying. And I see 7 different churches represented. We'd have to do name tags every workday because it was just random people would show up. But at that one point, God showed me that he is bringing the body of Christ together, that this, Freedom House is not, we're not a denomination. We're not labeled. This is the body of Christ. This is God's house. And it took the body to come together in unity and make this become a reality.
I wanted to ask you that, and you've probably already kind of expressed your heart in this regard, but Betty and I have been talking a lot about that word community. It's just kind of one of the buzzwords of really 2017 coming into 2018, and I can't think of a better example that we've heard of what community can mean. What does community mean to you, having gone through this process?
Oh, number one, I live in the best community, and I'm sure everyone can say that about theirs, but community is just everyone putting aside, the strong theological beliefs, or, we had straight up unbelievers here. They don't have to say, I go to church. They would, borough workers, we had firefighters, we had police officers here working. They were just seeing a need in the community, saying, hey, this woman's got a vision, let's kind of jump on the crazy wagon. And look what happened, because the community put aside disagreements or what separated us and totally came together. And there was so much peace and unity in this building project. Not one injury, thank the Lord. And we were straight up knocking down walls and, doing some pretty hardcore stuff. And so God just united the community through this project.
What an amazing example of the power in that.
Yes.
I think for
How
our
is the home currently? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Betty.
I was going to say, I think for our radio program, we're going to have to cut out, but we're not done yet. Right, Cammie?
That's right. So I guess we will go ahead and end the audio portion of our interview with Jennifer Waller. We're talking with her about the Freedom House. But we do want to encourage you, those that are joining us just by way of radio, please do come to our Facebook page at Living Well Radio, and you can see the remainder of this interview. She's going to take us on a behind the scenes tour of the Freedom House. We got a little sneak peek, and I can tell you guys, you don't want to miss it. So come to our Facebook page and follow the tour. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday.